Okay, so here's a quick tutorial to show you what you need to do to get your copy of Animals v Aliens reskinned for the App Store. You'll get this folder once you've made a purchase, and you'll notice there is a must reskin folder. Everything has been nicely grouped into here for everything you need to reskin. So first off, there's the enemies. They've all got a reskin label. Everything in this reskin folder's got a label on it for reskin, so that you just don't miss anything. So as I say, we've got your enemies. So whatever your enemies you want in the game, feel free to change these images for those. Just keep the names the same. You can change the sizes. Maybe you want bigger enemies or smaller enemies in your game, but just reskin them all. And next up, we've just got some flying enemies. Reskin those. You've got in-app purchase buttons. Probably best to keep everything in this folder the same size, but it's up to you. Image cassettes. Definitely keep these all the same size as they are. So when you do reskin these, just open these files and keep the same image sizes, and obviously put your reskinned image on there. These are the App Store icons. Then you've also got the loading graphics. Again, they've all got reskin labels on. Keep all of these the same size as well. Make sure that these are all you need to do is just change the graphic, keep the sizes the same. Then you have got the menu backgrounds. Again, keep these the same size, keep the same names, just reskin, again, labels there. And finally, they're not ninjas now, they're animals. Originally they were ninjas. And here, again, your animals. You don't have to keep these the same size. You might want some bigger, some smaller. It's up to you. The game will automatically adjust to whatever size these are. And you can see they've got the different states. So in the air graphic, blinking graphic, in the sling, on the ground. As you can see, I've generally kept a lot of these images just the same, copied and pasted them. You can do that when they're rolling. Obviously, if in your game you're throwing boulders, for example, and you can use the same image for pretty much all of these. But make sure you do use them all, otherwise it will break the game, because they'll be looking for, the different states that they're in the project. Unless, of course, you know what you're doing, of course, and you can, make some changes to the project itself. But right now, we're just going through the basics. Okay, so once you've reskinned that must reskin folder, everything there is now reskinned. It is completely custom to you. You can, in theory, just submit the game to the App Store. So here's how you would do that. So load up the project folder, which is this here, and then give yourself a new name. So decide what you want to call yourself, your game. So let's call it Angry Animals. Whatever you do, don't call it Angry Birds. Then just head over to here, change this as well, Angry Animals. And then you can also change, now once you've pressed enter up there, it will work out a few more changes for you, and a rename will come up there. So rename that. Okay, so that's changed. There we go. Yeah, we're all Angry Animals. Okay, so that's your game changed. Now, if you're happy with the default settings of the game, then you could just head over to Product and Archive, and then submit to the App Store. Oh, sorry, you need to change your bundle identifier as well. Make sure you change that. Put something dot something dot something. So make sure you change that, and your version number as well, whatever version it is you want to launch with. Okay, so next thing to do, because the chances are you'll want to make some customizations to the actual game of Animals v Aliens. So head on over to this folder here, go to classes, and then in global, look for GameConfig. And GameConfig, there's a few switches here just to check the environment is what you'd like. So main menu, external links. You've got a Facebook, Twitter, and a web link on the main menu. If they're left empty, they'll just be hidden. but if you want, you can enter your Facebook page in there, your Twitter, and your website. In-game top row options, the additional animals that there's 12 animals in all. 5 of them are in the main game area, and then you've got another 7 available to switch out or available as in-app purchases. So if you want to disable those and hide those, so you're just left with the original 5 characters to sling, then you can remove that there, toggle that to 0. I'll leave it on 1. Show sling, that is just a button in the top row where if you press that, it'll show you what animal, or in your case, what character is in the sling and what its special moves are. Again, you probably want to keep that, but in case you don't want to be bothered writing descriptions of whatever all of your characters are and what they do, you could just hide that, turn that to 0 in that case. Kids mode, there's a kids mode that's available as an in-app purchase, or you can choose not to have it in as an in-app purchase, but either way it's available to be had or not. 1 means it's enabled, or you can put 0 and it will hide that button. Tough aliens is just basically allowed a difficulty selector. You can have it the game more difficult. The aliens are stronger, they're wearing helmets in this case, and you can choose whether you want that difficulty option on the top row menu. Again, 0 for no, 1 for yes. Hornet's Nest, that's an in-app purchase where if you enable people to buy Hornet's Nests, they can add them to the level, and then if they're hitting the level, they will automatically pass the level. So it's sort of a quick way through a difficult level. Again, you can disable that feature there. Ad system, by default the ad system is disabled, but turn that to a 1 and you'll enable the ad system. You must then put your Google AdMob details in here, matching those. So make sure you do that. Otherwise, you'll be paying me because I've left mine in right here on this example. So you don't want to pay me for your hard work. So make sure that you change them for your own. If you do decide to enable ads, ads will appear in between levels that don't have cutscenes, and also as banner at the bottom of the playing area. Okay, next up, I'll switch that back to 0. Next up, you've got a level builder test mode. So if you do want to go into detail and start changing levels, designing your own object stacks and adjusting the 75 preset levels for you, then you might want to enable level test mode. I'll go into that in more detail in another tutorial. Unlock all levels for testing. So when you're playing your game on the simulator or on the, probably best not the simulator, it doesn't work great on the simulator. Just load in your own device is better. Play it off your device when you're testing it via Xcode. You've got the option to unlock all of the levels, so you don't have to win through to the different levels to test them all. But if you do, obviously put unlock all levels, which is that to a 1. Make sure you switch it back to a 0 before you submit it to the App Store, because obviously if you don't, people will get your game and just be able to pick and choose which levels they want to play, whereas you want them to go through in order. Oh, cutscene control is next. By default, cutscenes are disabled, and that's because if you want to enable cutscenes, you've got to do a whole load more reskinning and create your own graphics for the cutscenes. So if you do want to do that, change that to a 1 and then follow some instructions here. But there'll be a separate tutorial on how to do the cutscenes in another tutorial. In-app purchase control. So if you want to disable in-app purchases, you can flip this to a 1. And by default, they are enabled. So make sure that if you do want in-app purchases, then you then update your in-app purchase details. There's a whole section on this as a tutorial separately on in-app purchasing. So have a read of that if you want to enable in-app purchasing. If you don't, then just turn that to a 1 and that's disable in-app purchase. And then all of the characters that are available via in-app purchase will be available just naturally free. So in that case, perhaps you want to charge for the game because your monetization will be dramatically reduced. Okay, so that's about it once you've decided what your game settings are. And if you want a very, very basic reskin, then that's it. You can submit to the App Store, just head over, turn that into an archive, and then you can validate it and submit to the App Store. And that's the end of our first tutorial. Thank you very much.